Hi, welcome to my kitchen. My name is Alicia, and today I'm going to talk about with you a little bit about how to make a really great batch of apple butter from your very own Crockpot. All right, we only need a few things to start out. It's a fairly simple, fun recipe, but it'll leave your house smelling like fall, and it's wonderful. Now, the trick to this apple butter is you want to cook it for about 48 hours, give or take. All right, so to begin, we need our ever-trusty Crockpot, about 25 to 30 apples. That'll be about 6 pounds. You can use any apples you like. I prefer a blend of Granny Smith and Fiji, actually. Different apples will give you a slightly different taste if you have a very delicate palate. And then, of course, we need our apple allspice, our ground cinnamon, our cloves, a cutting board, a paring knife, and a spoon. Okay, so 25 to 30 apples is about 8 pounds, and you want to make sure that you wash them. And then what you want to do, and what makes this recipe so wonderful, is that you're using everything but the core, so you do not have to peel your apples. And when you're peeling your apples, make sure that you take the proper precautions and that you're safe. So all you have to do, this might be a little difficult here, there we go, is we're basically just going to core them. We're just going to cut as close to the core as possible in larger slices, just like this. If you have a device that will let you core down, you can use that as well. And so we just have these slices just like this, and all we're going to do is just cut these basically into edible snack-sized slices, and then we're going to add them to our Crockpot. So we're just going to cover them. So as we cut, we're just going to put them in the Crockpot, and we're going to do all of our apples until we have completely covered the top of it. Okay, so we have finished coring our apples, and we've cut them so that they are all in the Crockpot. And if you think you need to snack on one, no worries, I won't tell. Also, if you have a kitchen helper, sometimes they really like apples too. Buddy? Yeah, good boy. All right, so we're going to put the last of our apples into our Crockpot. So our Crockpot is full. So into the Crockpot, we are going to add 2 teaspoons of ground cinnamon, 1 teaspoon of cloves, and 1/4 teaspoon of allspice. And we're going to mix that in with 2 cups of just regular white granulated sugar. You do not want to use powdered sugar for this because powdered sugar does have cornstarch. So if you are left with just powdered sugar, I do highly suggest you go next door and borrow a cup of sugar. Okay, so we're going to, and I kind of pre-mix this in a bowl. We're going to put that right up. And there we go. We're going to give that a good stir, just a good mix up. We're not going to add in any water or any sort of liquid because what we're doing is the heat along with the sugar will react with the pectin in the apples, and it will provide its own liquidy goodness. And that's pretty much it. So what we're going to do now is, once it's just sufficiently covered, is we're going to put the lid on and put it on low, and we are going to let that cook for about 10 hours. Time to check on it, give it a good stir, but I promise you in about 5 hours your house will just be smelling wonderfully folly with all the lovely spices in it. And so our goal is to have the apples slowly disintegrate and simmer down into a nice thick, kind of almost a caramely-like paste. It won't taste like caramel, but it'll get that kind of nice dark consistency. So cooking it on low over a period of 48 hours will give us that wonderful, wonderful blend of spices. And flavors that you're looking for. So it's always nice to do this on a weekend so you're not rushing, or feel free. It took me like, once I had the ingredients, 5 minutes to get the apples cored and put in the container, and then now we let it sit for 10 hours. All right, we'll see you in a bit. Okay, so we've come to the part where we've let the apple butter sit for 20 to 30 hours. And so what we should have would be a beautiful pot like this. There it is. Let's check on it. That dark, beautiful, kind of dark caramely color. Don't worry about having bits and pieces in there. They're super soft. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to blend them into a really beautiful, smooth apple butter paste. Now you can do this using an immersion blender, but I prefer just a regular blender. So you're going to use a spoon or a ladle. It doesn't really matter which. There we go. And you're going to go ahead and ladle. And you're just going to put it right on in there. And be careful, it's going to be hot. All right. And this will, in my opinion, give you the smoothest blended apple butter rather than using an immersion blender. All right, so now we're gonna put it in the blender, throw the lid on, and make a lot of noise. Okay, well, it seems to have been blended to a super nice, smooth consistency. It's absolutely beautiful. Look at that. We are going to want to actually start putting it in the jars. So what you want to do is make sure you've got your canning jars. They can be any size, it doesn't matter. But you also want to make sure that you've prepared them correctly. We can do what's called a water bath. You can look this up online. It's really very simple. It's not the same as canning because it's not pressure canning in the same way. Water bathing is just making sure that the jars are not pressurized per se, but a little bit of pressurized and a little bit of sealed. When you water bathe the apple butter jars, they're good up to 2 years. So you have a nice big closet full of apple butter that'll last you a while. All right, so when you water bathe, you want to fill up a big pot, make sure it's boiling, and put your jars in for about 5 minutes, your jars and your lids. You can use a special tongs. I just take regular combs and I put rubber bands around them. You probably want to use more rubber bands than I have right now. And we're just going to pull them out. So this not only disinfects them, but it makes sure they're nice and clean, ready. Just like this. All right, we're just going to pull everybody out and we're going to get it prepared to go. All right. Pulling everybody out. Up, here we go. It's hard to see with all the stuff. All right, so pulling everybody out. Okay, so now that we have our warmed up jars, and we are going to go ahead and fill them using a special funnel. You can get these fairly cheap. It's got that wide mouth that should fit over the normal lid width of the jars, just like this. So what we want to do now is the jar is warm. We are going to fill it up till 1/4 from the top. So basically where that red line starts down there into the jar. This is to ensure that there's plenty of space for when we do the water bath, and so it can seal and not be overfull, because it's really bad if it's overfull. So we're just going to set that down. Going to use our ladle. Might be helpful if I take the blender portion out. I'm just going to put it right back in our container because we're just going to use it again until we're full. See, look how beautifully smooth that is. So So we're just going to go ahead and fill up that jar. Almost there with just one scoop. That's great. There we go. Nice. All right. Just a wee bit. Oop, there we go. So it looks like that. We're just gonna take it out. There it is. Beautiful. And then we're just going to put the lid on it. And it's ready for a water bath. Water bath, you just put it in a pot, let it soak for, with our altitude, about 15 minutes. Within that 15 minutes, as long as the top is pressed so it doesn't pop, it's sealed, and it's good for 2 years. If it does pop, then you want to stick it in the fridge and use it within a week. So this is the same for they're pretty simple to make. They're really great Christmas gifts. And so that's it. That's all. I'll have the recipe available as needed. It's kind of a taste as you go. Everybody has different tastes. I use less sugar. I don't use any sugar other than the initial 2 cups to help with the pectin. I like mine a bit tart. So really you're just going to spice and sugar to however you please. And I hope that you learned something fun and new and how really easy it is. I think the most expensive part of this is the jars. And maybe the apples if you don't have somebody who's got apple trees that are just like giving you apples, going, here, please take. So have a wonderful month and happy apple buttering. Take care. Bye-bye.